Hey guys. Welcome back to Daily Movie Recaps. My name is Rocky. Today I will show you a 2007 comedy movie called Good Luck Chuck. Please like, share and subscribe to channel. A 10-year-old Charlie Logan and his friends are playing a game in their bedroom. Charlie is really looking forward to kissing his crush. But the bottle lands to Anisha, a very fierce-looking girl he's actually scared of. In the closet, Anisha seems to have this entirely different idea of Charlie in her mind. She believes he is her boyfriend. She tries to kiss him but Charlie rejects and runs out the closet. Anisha gets very angry. She curses him, stating that he'll never be able to keep a girlfriend. And any girl who sleeps with him will find her true love in her next boyfriend. To present-day Charlie, now a dentist, is being intimate with his girlfriend Carol on a beach. She confesses her love for him but Charlie doesn't respond the way she wants him to. Carol gets mad and dumps him. He goes on to talk about the incident with his buddy Stu, a plastic surgeon. Stu reminds him that they're supposed to attend this girl Katie's wedding. Ironically, Charlie and Katie were dating until 6 months ago. And now she is marrying a heart surgeon. At the wedding, Katie proposes a toast to Charlie for being her lucky charm. She quotes that she'd hit jackpot after dumping him. We see Cam, Katie's college friend who runs the penguin habitat at Aqua World. Cam and Charlie are seated at the same table and they get to talking for a while. Charlie's ex-girlfriend Carol was also at the wedding and has already found a new boyfriend. The next day at his clinic, Charlie is surprised to see a number of girls from Katie's wedding waiting for him. And they all tried to get handsy with him. And it's all because they have read the article about him. Charlie's assistant Reba also reads this article about Charlie on a website. Charlie, almost completely oblivious to this, senses that there is something different about how women have been interacting with him recently and talks to Stu about it. In the middle of this conversation though, Charlie sees Carol buying a wedding dress. Carol tells him that she's engaged and believes that Charlie is a lucky charm. When he gets back home, he finds a bunch of messages left on his answering machine, all from random women asking him out. Charlie picks a random girl and decides to go out with one of the callers. Except she doesn't really want to date him, she only wants to sleep with him. Charlie's very confused, so she explains to him that women who have sex with him find their true love in the next guy they date. Charlie finds the whole thing absurd, but before he can do anything he receives a call from Cam. Cam has had a minor fall at the penguin habitat at work and has chipped her tooth, so she needs an emergency treatment. Charlie fixes her tooth and once again they hit it off. But accidentally she bumps her head against the dentist's lamp. She topples over a tray of surgical knife and they flew towards Charlie and actually stabbing him in the back. Cam apologizes and Charlie takes the opportunity to ask her to dinner, but to his disappointment she refuses to go out with him. Cam and Charlie still bid adieu on a good note. But Cam's car doesn't start because she left her lights on. So she comes back to see if Charlie could help her. Charlie jump-start the car but Charlie gets electrocuted in the process. Then Cam forgets her keys inside and locks the door. Charlie drives her home to get her spare key. On the drive to her place, Cam shares how she has always had accidents in her life. She gets her key from the house and they finally make it back to the parking lot. Cam apologizes again for all the injuries and mishaps. Charlie asks her out again and she refuses again, saying that she isn't emotionally available right now. She gets out of Charlie's car but her skirt gets caught in the door and is torn clean off. Charlie gets back home that night, and he is startled by Reba, who, like the many other girls at the office, wants to sleep with Charlie to find her true love. When Charlie refuses, Reba basically forces herself on him. Charlie says that he can't have sex with her, but when Reba starts crying and expresses how bad she feels about her body, he obliges to sleep with her. Charlie tells Stu about his encounter with Reba. Stu advises that Charlie should keep doing this, as it is like a public service to help women find love while having some fun for himself. Charlie takes his advice and starts sleeping with various numbers of girls. We see how all the women Charlie has slept with has found their true love. He decides to go to Aqua World to see her and she's pleasantly surprised to see him too, and looks like Kim couldn't stop thinking about Charlie either. But she tells him that she knows 3 women that Charlie has gone out with and she thinks he takes dating to be a sport, which is exactly why she doesn't want to go out with him. Somehow Charlie convinces Cam to go to dinner with him, but only as friends. Turns out Cam is really looking forward to pursuing some other guy named Howard Blaine who studies penguins, and she'll be meeting at a conference in a few months anyway. Charlie and Kim go out on their first date, but it winds up being pretty romantic and they end up kissing. On their third date, Kim asks Charlie about the whole Lucky Charm thing, and when he tells her all about it, she laughs it off. One night when they're finally about to get laid with each other, Charlie receives a call from Stu. Stu tells Charlie that the whole Lucky Charm thing is probably real because he's been calling all of Charlie's exes and every single one of them got married after breaking things off with Charlie. Scared that Kim might get married to the next guy she sees after hooking up with him, Charlie leaves pretending that there's some dental emergency. First, Charlie has to confirm whether the Lucky Charm conspiracy is true or not. So, Stu suggests him to sleep with Eleanor, who Stu believes could never get married. So, Charlie asks out Eleanor, but she flat out refuses, so he offers her money to go out with him and eventually she agrees to go out and later they share each other's company. Charlie calls Cams and tells her that he's sick and would prefer to talk to her over the phone or on a video call, and so over the next 2 weeks they have many dates over the phone. Still, there's still no news of Eleanor being married. Charlie begs Stu to ask her out so they can test if the curse is real. Stu finally agrees. Meanwhile, Kim really wants to take things to the next level with Charlie and tries very hard to seduce him into coming over. Stu calls Charlie to tell him that he went out with Eleanor and still is not planning on marrying her. Charlie wastes no time in rushing over to see Cam. The next morning he's shocked to see on a TV special about obesity that Eleanor got engaged to some guy. He immediately calls Stu, who tells him that he was lying the previous night. He had actually chickened out of going out with Eleanor because he was afraid that he would then have to marry her. Charlie is now paranoid that the next guy Kim meets could potentially end up being her husband. So, he tries a little too hard to impress her and he brings her a huge breakfast in bed. Offers to go to work with her and then actually takes the day off to be with her. Kim really doesn't want to be smothered like this and ultimately asks Charlie to leave her alone and give her some space. But Charlie is relentless. He's persistent. He's not ready to give up. He shows up again to Cam's work with an engagement ring. And when he sees Cam hugging another guy, he goes mad and heckles the guy, which infuriates Cam. Cam knows exactly why Charlie has been acting like this. She knows that he's afraid that he's a lucky charm and that Cam will marry the next guy she dates. Overwhelmed and irritated by Charlie's behavior, Cam breaks up with him. Cam's brother tells her that she may have reacted too harshly and that she should consider Charlie's love for her. Meanwhile, Charlie decides to meet Anisha, who had hexed him when they were kids, and tries to get her to break the spell. When he meets Anisha, he finds out that she's happily married and has a daughter and basically tells her how miserable he's been. He begs her to lift the curse, but she suggests that it's absurd of him to think that this was all because of an age-old hex. A helpless Charlie decides to let go of his feelings for Cam and set her free. In fact, he calls the Howard Blaine, the guy Kim had said she was into, and sets them up on a date. It was a bittersweet moment when he sees Kim having a good time with Howard. A few days later, Stu and his new girlfriend come over to Charlie's place and tell him that Cam is going to Antarctica with Howard. Charlie is in denial at first, but then realizes that he has to stop Cam from leaving. He goes to the airport, buys ultra-expensive tickets to the 2 flights that were headed to Antarctica, and finally finds her on one of the flights. He confesses his love for Cam and begs her not to go. She tells him that she'll be back next week and that she isn't dating Howard. She also knows that it was Charlie who made it possible for her to fulfill her dream of going to Antarctica to see penguins in their natural habitat, and at last they kiss. In the end, we see that Anisha actually has a voodoo doll of Charlie kept under some kind of hex, which she finally removes. A year later, Charlie and Cam are still together and going strong, now on a romantic trip to Antarctica. The end. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel.